Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Select Board meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. This meeting hearing of the Ayer Select Board will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom and Channel 8. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 978-772-8220 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220 extension 100 prior to the meeting. If I could ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, do we have any amendments to the agenda?
I don't have any. None.
Okay.
Make a motion that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Oh, do we have the info for the Memorial Day?
Yeah.
So on Monday, May 25th, the Memorial Day service starts at 8:30. The veterans will, everyone involved with the veterans will be at the Woodlawn ceremony at 8:30, doing a quick ceremony. Then they'll move over to St. Mary's Cemetery at 9 to do a quick service over there. From St. Mary's, the parade will start at 10 a.m. and it will come on down to Town Hall where there'll be the ceremony. I do not believe this is continuing on to Peroni Park. It is not. It is correct. It is not going to Peroni Park, so it will stop at Town Hall. Okay. Anyone participating in the parade, please meet at St. Mary's at 9:30. Okay. All right. No other announcements? Okay. Anyone here for public input? Oh, all right. Come on down. Which one? Are you together or are you come separate? Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Try again. Anyone here for public input? They were so eager. They jumped the gun. So, all right. Seeing none. Okay. Now we're going to start talking about Sandy Pond Working Group, Sandy Pond Road Working Group, presentation of the study report and recommendations. Robert?
Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have just a brief presentation to highlight some of the major points of the study report, which the board has. And I've just asked the DPW director to join me. So we want to thank you for the opportunity to present. Next slide. So over the last 18 months, as charged by the select board back on September of 2024, the working group was charged with 3 tasks. One is what we'll call final project concept options, but perhaps we need to get rid of the word final and just stress concept options. A proposed estimated project budget to include recommended funding options, because as the board is aware, there's no dedicated funding source at this time for this project, and then some recommendations on next steps for the project development. And I really want to thank the working group that's all listed here. Some of them are here tonight. Danny Ruiz, the town planner, Dan Van Shelwick, the DPW director, John Schallenberger and Jess, Wagina. Well, yes, but you filled in a couple times from conservation. Jerry Amenta from the parks, and all of our members that were appointed by the board that really contributed to this effort. We thank the working group. Next. So just real quick on the background of 71 Sandy Pond Road, just to refresh, it's been a while. It's a 2.29 acre parcel strategically located across from the town beach in the Sandy Pond waterfront. Historically, the property had a single-family house on it. The former property owner, there's a history of a lot of violations of town bylaws, and the property was often in an active state of property enforcement. In November of 2023, the town was approached by the new property owner to see if the town was interested in purchasing the property. The select board did authorize an appraisal and environmental screening in preparation for a negotiated amount, which ultimately ended up being $700,000. And the funding plan was put together with $350,000 from Community Preservation Act funds under open space and recreation, and $350,000 as authorized by the select board from the town's American Recovery Act, or ARPA funds, which was funding that the town received from the federal government to mitigate impacts from COVID. Town meeting authorized the purchase and the funding plan on April 22nd of 2024, and the town officially assumed ownership on June 20th of 2024. And so just there is the parcel that many are familiar with, diagonally across, and it has that sort of larger front piece and then like a long panhandle as mentioned. Next. And that was the existing house that was on the structure prior to acquisition. Next. That was a photo of it before the demolition. And then the owner at that time was proposing two duplex units, 2-unit duplex, which you can see. This was the concept at the time prior to the town's acquisition. Next slide. And then that's the property at time of acquisition. The owner was required to demolish and clean the property and level it to street level. Okay. So the working group meeting in process, and I think Dan Van Schauwick, I'll give him full credit with the concept of to think of it as a canvas of an opportunity for the town to sort of develop what they want or don't want on that land. So that we approached it right from the get-go with everything on the table, if you will, that there's nothing etched in stone, which is still the case, and there was no dedicated funding. So the working group met a total of 8 times in open session and public meetings here at Town Hall and on Zoom. We held a public community design charrette on May 21st from 6 to 8 in the Great Hall, which was well attended. The working group was supported by a professional consultant from Wesson and Sampson that was funded through ARPA funds to the $25,000 in ARPA funds per the board. And the working group meetings really focused on developing a concept plan. And again, I want to stress concept as to what could potentially go there, what couldn't go there, and we had the parameters of it needed to fit into parks, recreation, and open space needs of the town. Those were sort of the 3 areas that the board will recall. Obviously, we did not acquire the property to build a municipal building or so forth. And we identified, which is on page 5 in the report, some initial challenges and opportunities to the site. So some of the existing challenges is traffic and speeding on Sandy Pond Road would govern a lot of our discussions because you have to cross the road between the waterfront and 71. So the issues of traffic and speeding in that intersection came up a lot. Developing limited and safe parking and safe access to parking. So one of the things that came right out of the first meeting is it is not to just be a parking lot, and that is a concern. There is some in the concept, there is some parking for the use of the asset, but from the right out of the gate, not to have a parking, it just to be a parking lot, if you will. The narrow portion of the parcel, that panhandle, it was looked at. There are some challenges there with a wetland buffer and what do we do or not do with that piece. There was discussions on sensitivity to existing residential abutters. There are close residential abutters. that came up when the issue of pickleball was brought up, if you've heard the sound from pickleball and some other issues. And then pedestrian circulation really crossing between the two assets. So those challenges, remain as we looked through the process. Mentioned again, there was no dedicated funding, and we were charged with looking at funding options. Next. So this is the concept plan as a result of the working group process, if you will. Again, stealing the DPW director's canvas look at it. I mean, anything is still possible. This was through this whole process, various elements. So just to highlight, so on the panhandle piece, you can see what came up was a proposed walking path that may have some boardwalk components because of wetlands, but keeping that, open space and natural, but with a walking trail was a component there. The issue of some parking for access to the site, and this is a delicate balance in the sense that, as mentioned, we don't want the whole thing to just be asphalted to be a parking lot. And parking originally started on the Snake Hill, on the Sandy Pond Road side, but here you can see the parking is proposed in concept access from Snake Hill Road that would be safer. Some other elements that came up was a proposed fitness court. This is a proposal from some members and had come from Parks as a fitness component. There is a grant through Maya for the fitness court. So that was one piece that was put into the conceptual plan. A proposed shade shelter. So obviously some kind of, one of the issues there, and this came up a lot about talking about trees and appropriate plantings and greening it as much as possible, but also potentially having some type of a shade shelter as well. Picnic tables to some extent, bike racks, as you can see on there. And the parking lot here has 14 spaces with one ADA space. Again, that's a concept that could, be altered. And then two elements that are actually ended up on the other side, though our scope was on this side, came up the issue of a splash pad or a splash park. There's a lot of interest in that for younger users. Also, where the beach is increasingly the pond and not just this pond, subject to closure because of bacterial levels and so forth. The splash pad would be tied into the town's water and is something that could continue to be used at that point. We did look at it on the other side. It ended up in this concept on this side. And then the proposed kayak access and launch was another element, because Sandy Pond is a great pond. Actually, under the lot, there should be a dedicated public kayak canoe access. So that was one of the things identified and flagged in there. And then most of the other items are existing items on the Sandy Pond site. So again, this is just a concept plan as a result of that working group process. Next slide. And we'll come back to the image also. So one of the things as we looked at this is a phased approach to the project. I think regardless of how we decide to proceed or so forth, it made sense to have sort of a phased approach. One is, as you see in the report, if we did everything, the estimated cost would be about 1.6 million. And then also a way that we're moving forward with some improvements to the site, phasing in was discussed. Now, I do want to point out on this slide, as in the report, the phasing is not etched in stone. This could be moved around and so forth. But phase one would be sort of your demo and site preparation, your earthwork, your general site improvements, furnishings and landscaping. Phase two, for example, could be the kayak canoe launch and the splash pad. Phase three could be the nature trail and boardwalk. And there was a lot of concern brought up that, well, why should the nature trail necessarily be phase three? And in the nature trail, we need to ensure that that would happen and not be forgotten. So again, I think the takeaway from the working group is that a phased approach would allow the town to begin to implement aspects of this and also with an appropriate funding plan. Next slide. So again, the cost estimate of probable cost for the project, one of the things that the work group was charged with, again, want to stress, this is just an estimate, it's just a probable cost. It's not, again, etched in stone. And so what you can see, and in the report, it gives more of a more detailed breakdown, but phase one, that's the 71 Sandy Pond site elements, about 676,000. Phase two, the kayak launch and splash park, 640, the nature trail boardwalk, 303, and the project total would be about 1.6 million. Again, it's just a probable estimate. This doesn't factor in, potential donations, potential fundraising, potential in-kind work. I know that the DPW director took a first pass at looking at some of this and identified some savings. But it would be to do everything. It would be about a $1 million project. Funding sources, the CPA, the CPC was represented on the working group. The CPC is supportive of funding of some component that's obviously applicable to their guidelines. That would be subject to the CPC process, which the board knows that there's an application process, a public hearing, and ultimately town meeting approval. One of the requirements too with the CPC funding that came up would be nice to have that kayak launch access in place. Town funding is definitely something that's on the table. As the board knows, whatever that would be would have to go through the budget process, specifically capital planning and so forth. Grant funding, there was an initial grant identified on the fitness component, but there probably may be some other grant opportunities that need to be looked at in more detail. And then donations or in-kind donations and opportunities, whether it's a piece of a component of it or some labor or so forth. So there's more to be done again on the funding source. Next. So recommendations in next steps. So the study report of the working group recommends that is sort of a concept after that process to look at it. It is subject to further development into a refined and final project plan. So in terms of next steps, obviously we're here tonight to present to you the findings and the report and to answer any questions, through the chair. We are going to be going to the Parks Commission also, as we indicated in the beginning, to present the report that is to be scheduled. Town staff would be continue to develop and refine the project plan to include funding plan and timeline. I think a key point that came out of the working group since then is that the town would hold future public input forum or forums as part of the development of the refined plan. So in other words, so the working group looked at it. This is sort of the concept coming out of it. Now going back to the public, getting public input. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? There may be some other ideas that we missed. So it's not by any stretch done tonight. And I already mentioned, depending on the funding mechanisms, there would be further public process on that. And the last point is that the town will continue to provide periodic public updates to the select board and the Parks Commission, as we move forward with that. And with that, that's just a quick overview of the final report, which you have. Madam Chair, I'll turn it back to you for any questions that the board has or anybody from the working group if I missed something through the chair.
Did you bring back the image?
Yeah. Yes.
Hold on a second, I do have a comment. I got upside down here. So. Hard when you're looking at it like this. So one of my questions, so first of all, I love the idea of a splash pad, okay? Especially, you know, when you can't get into the pond. But let me ask the question that I know will get asked. How are you going to run the water for a splash pad when we usually have a water restriction? Which the odd even has been going on for decades, so that's not a big deal. But how are you going to address that?
Right, so an activity like that is exempt from the outdoor water restriction. We're required by the Water Management Act permit, and then, you know, presuming with the Clear Well project that our water capacity is up to its what it used to be, then it should be a non-issue. Yeah.
Because so many people think we're out of water, but that's not what the problem
Right.
is. It's that we can't process it fast enough to get it to everyone.
Right,
Right.
the treatment restriction.
Right,
Yeah.
so we have water, we just need to treat it before we can get it to the home, so I just wanna, okay. Yeah, so that was one of the questions. I don't remember what my other one, do you have a question?
Just using the phase approach that is proposed, what is the timeline from start to, how long do you anticipate a project like this to take? If we were to go with as presented.
Yeah, so I think, you know, the first phase would take a construction season for sure, and you know, we have to go through the funding process, so it's not gonna be for a little while. And then you'd have to hash out the additional phases from there. They necessarily might not take as long, there's not as many elements of it. But they would take some time, so, you know, especially when we're looking at the Sandy Palm Beach and the elements on that side, needs to be a lot of coordination with the parks and you know, it's an active beach and when we're doing that work and all that, so, with the commission, so that one would take a lot of coordination work, but, you know, the blank site of 71, it'd be at least easier to get on there and start working, you know.
And then just a question on the cost savings things. I know there was just a few of them, but like, so for when you say asphalt walkways instead of cement, aside from saving some money, is there another benefit to it, or would a cement walkway last longer, so it's worth the investment, or?
Not necessarily, won't last as long, but it still lasts pretty long.
Asphalt will?
Yeah, asphalt. Yeah, so, you know, those are more value engineering items that I was looking at. And I think I would say too, the opinion of probable cost, it has a lot of conservative factors built in that Weston and Sampson put in there. So, you know, they want to make sure they cover themselves, and that estimate is pretty high. So, you know, ultimately likely it would come in somewhat lower, but yeah, and to answer your question, it's a way to save money. It doesn't look as pretty, probably doesn't last quite as long as the concrete, but yeah.
You know, my main comment is just for the public in general that this is a concept. And there will be plenty of time to weigh in. We're gonna have sessions, people come in, give their input, which I think is really important. I just don't want anyone to see this right now and say, yep, that's what they're doing, we're going
Right.
forward and charging ahead. This is just the first step, so I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that. I guess the other question that I guess the question I would have is there any chance of getting like a variance to go into that, you know, do not disturb zone if needed, or is that just a no-go if, you know, looking at concepts and, well, we have conservation agents here.
The conservation agent's not here, but.
We have members of the board.
Yes, that's what I meant, sorry.
So yeah, they're here.
Yeah.
We have
board members.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, I don't think anyone wants to speak on that without an application.
You would have to come before the commission and it's application. Have to decide and also get stated.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's a process. It wouldn't be just like that. Yep, thank you. Okay.
What I have.
And all these have all been public meetings, the public's
Yes.
been invited. I know I've seen it so that, you know, it's not just people here. It's been other people that have attended and everything like that.
Yes, and one of our recommendations now will be to take this back to the public and get further input. And we'll be advertised. Working back with that.
Okay.
And I could just mention too, which was brought up, point I forgot to mention too. Regardless of what is ultimately decided with it, that it also will have to go through, and I know the board knows this, but just for the record, it would have to go through the appropriate processes as well, whether it's planning board or conservation, so forth. We're not just it's gonna meet all of those standards as well.
Yeah, we're going to house.
I don't know what it's doing. Okay. It has that idle display. That's why I said wiggle the mouse, because it looked like it was about to die on us or something. Ah, that's what it is. So, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so right now, what it is it's just being presented. With the concept.
Yep.
And then all that's being asked of us tonight is what, to say go forward? Don't worry, I haven't forgotten you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, at this point, we wanted to present the report and where the working group has put in all of this effort. This is where the working group has come to a point. Now, in terms of next steps, is to take this work and take it public for further input and so forth. And then we have to do some more work as well on timeline and funding and so forth. So it remains a work in progress. And ultimately, we have two challenges. Well, there are many challenges, but two is to come up with a final concept and also to come up with the funding for that.
Okay. All right, so I know we had some public input. Right? Come on down.
Come on down.
Next.
Oh, wait a minute, John wants to ask one more question. You
Oh,
can
no,
sit,
please,
you can
yeah.
sit.
Just in terms of that, what is timeline for that? For more public forums or like?
Yeah, we would probably be looking to do one before summer gets in full swing.
Okay.
And then probably something in the fall as well.
Okay.
All right, can you please state your name?
Sure. John Schmullenberger, 2 Calvin Street, and I am a current member of the 71 Pond Working Group. And I am just here today to express my disappointment with the proposed concept plan.
Okay.
And I'll fill you in on that a little bit. But first, I'd like to say what I do like about it. The splash pad, I like that very much. And I think it needs to be where it's shown. The other thing that I like very much is the kayak and canoe launch. I think that needs to be moved to phase 1. The reason being is that there is an area on Snake Hill Road that is currently being used as a boat launch daily, many times a day. And the erosion that's being caused by that is startling. It's getting to the point where it's going to start to undercut the road. It looks like to me. So that's what I do like about it. What I don't like about it is that, in my opinion, there's nothing there as a destination. There's no draw. You've got a hiking trail that may or may not get built. And if it does, it's very expensive. I think you could probably casually stroll that thing in 10 minutes. You'll never do it again. That's my opinion. The second thing is the workout stations. I walk by those things many places. People don't use them. I know you get a grant for it. What's the point of having something there? It doesn't cost anything that nobody's going to use. And the shade structure and picnic tables, I think, are a good idea. But your view is of the parking area and the street. And if I had a choice to picnic there or across the street with a view of the pond, I'd go across the street. So I don't see anything in this proposal that is a destination, like I said. It's one of the things that was expressed at the charrette and working group. We did not want this to be a parking area only. And $700,000 for a lot, but to buy the lot to become basically a parking area, in my opinion, is not a good use of that property. You know, we have an opportunity to do something really good for the town of Ayer in this particular spot. And I understand this is just a concept, but I don't think this is the plan that we should end up.
Well, like it said, it's a concept that would still need to go to more public hearings, public
Right.
forums to fine tune. But in order to get to that next phase of public hearings, public forums, we have to say, look, this is what, which I'm understanding the working group came up with to show as a first presentation.
It,
And then from there, you take this presentation and you start fine tuning. Now, as far as the kayak and canoe launch, I kind of agree. I think maybe should be moved up. But that's also something that the working group and all the public who attends have got to kind of decide to fine tune.
Right.
So that when it finally comes to, okay, we're gonna go through capital, go through this, go through that, go to town meeting, we know that everybody's at least done the best they can. So.
but then, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I just want, so you are a member of the working group. Were there other ideas that you had that you would like to see? And can you tell us what those were?
Sure. One thing that could be built there is our play structures for kids. So if parents do want a picnic over there and their kids have something to do when they're done eating in 3 minutes, they could have something to play on. Tetherball, volleyball. One thing that I really wanted to have happen was to move the basketball courts across the street. Open up that area that is now currently the basketball courts. Get that asphalt out of there, make it grass again, put shade structure and picnic tables over there. These are all things that were brought up and kind of dismissed.
So when you say dismissed, it was like by the whole working group? So the consensus was,
No.
who decided to nix it?
I think a lot of it was the park commission didn't want to see the basketball courts moved. For obvious reasons. It's there right now,
Been there for like 50 years, 60 years,
quite a
yeah,
long time. Yep.
yeah.
But if you have basketball courts at 71, you got older kids playing basketball, safer for them to cross the road, to get over there to play basketball, something as a destination where people will drive, park their car and stay. My fear is that people are going to park their car and walk across the street.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Hold on, Danny. Wait, okay. Were you, okay, because she was next. Go ahead.
Thanks.
Okay, please state your name.
I'm Marilyn Schmallenberger and I live at 2 Calvin Street.
Any relation to the previous speaker?
Casual acquaintance. I was present at the April 2024 meeting and when the discussion of buying the property came up, and I think one of the big selling points of it was that it gave the town a great opportunity to merge these two properties together because of proximity. But when I look at this plan, that doesn't seem to have happened at all. Everything is still over on the beach side that was there, although you swapped out the play structure for the launch pad and you've put a sliver of a kayak launch in, but the master plan and the Parks and Recreation proposal or plan that came forth, it talks about overcrowding at the beach and more accessibility to the beach. There's only so much land there. It's a very small beach. So the more we can do to make that more beachy, beachy. I hope that's an adverb. Anyway, it doesn't seem to be reflected in this plan. I have to say myself, I don't think that fitness court thing is gonna get used. We drive by one in Chelmsford, which is 2 blocks from downtown. It's next to 3 baseball parks. It's right across the street from the bike path, and it's next door to a senior housing and a school. And we drive by it 12 times a week, and we never see anybody there. And I'm just seeing that as a very good possibility here. The shade structures, again, I don't think anybody's gonna want to picnic on a busy street next to a parking lot, but I could see them being really used for young families who come and spend the day at the beach and want to have lunch and some shade. And so that's really just my objective. This plan just does not seem to have integrated the 2 properties. It's like everything stayed the same on this side of the street and some things were added on that side of the street, which in my own personal opinion, I don't think are really attractive, to draw people in. So that's basically my feelings about it. So that's why I really felt I had to come and speak when I saw the plan, because I don't think it's what the people wanted when we voted to buy this property. We do need parking. I know that was the big objection at the April 2024 meeting, that they don't want to see it parking lot. We do need parking. And I like the way they've kept it limited, and put the access on Snake Hill. But that seems to be the only thing that was added, that the only real use of this property. I think that would satisfy a lot of people. And I also want to make for bumping the kayak access up to phase 1. Like John said, we're across the street, we see people unloading John boats, motorboats.
I personally tend to agree with that because,
Yeah.
that's actually been discussed for a long time. So
Yeah.
that would be my personal.
When we moved in,
Preference.
there was places where you could put beach chairs and stuff like that, and it's all eroded now.
Yeah.
It's, it's gotten kind of
Well,
bad.
would not the concept of, the 71 Sandy Pond, I know you got the parking lot and the picnic. I mean, honestly, I can remember as a kid, picnicking in some places that weren't that pretty, and yet I have very fond memories of them. So I think that you have to kind of like take that to account too. But,
Yeah.
If you line it with trees nice enough, you're not necessarily looking at a parking lot.
Maybe.
And the ease of having
Yeah.
some picnic tables there, especially if you've got kids and you've got the coolers and everything like that, then go across the street,
Yeah. I just think there's nothing besides the picnic tables to draw you over there. So you come to the beach, you got your kids all laid out, they're having a great time, they get hungry. You're not going to pack them up, take them over to the picnic tables and the shade shelter. There's nothing over there that I see. I mean, somebody's not going to go do the fitness thing and then have pick. So that's the disconnect I see with the fitness court thing and that side of the street.
I think the fitness thing, the outdoor fitness thing, and I'm gonna just kind of draw on what I saw when I used to work at Hanscom Air Force Base, because they have a lot of places where you could walk around
Yeah,
and do push-ups and sit-ups and,
yeah,
like an elliptic, and some of them were fun, but if it's really hot out, you're not gonna use it.
yeah.
However, spring and fall, when the snow's gone away, it's a great time to use it if it's promoted. So
I'm just saying my
I'm mixed
opinion.
on that.
Yeah, I'm just saying my opinion, but I
Yeah,
mean, if it were me, I would not go do the fitness court for half an hour, and then have a picnic. But just if the splash pad was over there, then I get some people over their families in the shade. But anyway, but the point is that it just seems like when the plans were done and the working committee, however this evolved, it just seems like there was no integration. It's like everything stayed the same on this side of the street and just some other things were added to this side of the street. That's basically.
thank you for your turn.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
I just brought up another question in my head. Hold on, just Dan. Or anybody, actually. On the splash pad, the idea that it's being used if you can't go into the beach,
Mhm.
right? But do we not have a flaw? The flaw being, if you don't want anyone to go onto the beach to get into the water
Yeah.
at
You
Sandy
still have to
Pond,
let 'em into
you
the
should
pond.
move the splash pad. Because how are you going to keep those kids out of the water at the pond from the splash pad unless you've created the splash pad to have like fencing that you can only access it one way. Just something to think about. Okay, Jess, hold on. Dan, you were next.
Thank you. Daniel Ruiz, town planner. I just wanted to clarify one comment. So I know it was stated that the Parks Commission kind of made the decisions to kind of where the plan went. There were multiple people on the working group that also agreed with that that decision. So I don't want to just make it sound like it was only the Parks Commission that kind of made the decision as to where the plan went. And I was one of those members. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was the fitness one. So I know that's kind of a tougher sell in the sense of getting people to get to go there and actually getting people to actually use it. But so I live in Chelmsford and there's a Friendship Park is right up there. I frequent that with my kids all the time. And I see a lot of people using those, like you said, more spring and fall, not really in the dead of the summer, but I do see it used a little bit more frequently in those off heat seasons.
Okay, well, if you do a fitness center, do one of those things where your legs go like that. I love that one. All right, you and then Jess.
I don't know who you or Dan or Danny might know, but since the fitness court is getting a lot of attention, and if there was to be some other, not that, but some other recreational, would it still be eligible for a grant from IAA, or does it specifically have to be that type of?
So through the chair, the Maya grant is specific for the fitness. But it could be if it were to be some other element, there may be some other opportunity. And I think this is all good conversation that these are all, potential elements.
Okay, Jess?
So Jessica Gino, 8 Mountain View Avenue, also chair of the Conservation Commission, so, and member of CPC. So, one of the things I filled in for Janet Pravadakis at the meeting last week, and I noticed it was highlighted as the final concept plan at that.
Yeah, that
point.
was very bad wording.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing I would strongly suggest in the timeline of future steps would be, rather than have town staff start to develop a final plan and funding sources, there should be a public forum ahead of time to get feedback from the general community about, is this a useful plan or not? I personally think the fitness court would be like the exercise bike I used to have in my bedroom. Great place for clothes.
Person's saying nice too.
Yeah. One of the things I think would make it more attractive, as John said, to keep people there would be, instead of individual fitness court that may or may not get used, and I would, again, love to hear from the community on that, but something that involves a team game of some sort, something team oriented. And that was the attraction of, say, moving the basketball court over. But if that doesn't work, shouldn't there have to be some other things that could draw a group of people or kids to play, and families could sit by and watch, and they could run back and forth, but also play structures. If you're going to have a picnic area over there, there really should be some static play structures for little kids. And I think I was the one who mentioned the other day tetherball, but it's nothing that has moving parts that could easily be removed necessarily. Although people can be creative. But I also don't think the picnic structure on the 71 side needs to be on concrete. That would certainly save some cost, but why hot concrete for picnic structures? Anyway, my big point is to, take this to the community and get more feedback sooner rather than later, before you start having staff spend time.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just to
Yeah.
clarify on that, that's absolutely the intent, is to get some further public input first before, getting down into the weeds, as they say.
Mhm.
So there's no question there needs to be more public input. One of the challenges with this site that came up specifically at the charrette, with some parents with young children. Unfortunately, one of the challenges is Sandy Pond Road and the intersection. As everybody knows, there are speeding issues. Our police and folks and DPW continue to find ways to try to make that safer. But unfortunately, we have that very busy road between the two, as far as that further synergy. And what came up, we could definitely put play structures and so forth on the 71 Sandy Pond side, and that came up in some of the iterations. However, at the public charrette, some parents that were there with small kids are concerned about, the circulation, which is in the report between the two sides. Not saying that it isn't possible. It's definitely, I think, a consideration is that intersection and that Sandy Pond Road. And as the DPW director explained, it came up a lot at the charrette, and I think he has previously, is that intersection does not meet the warrants that are required, for an intersection as far as signalization and so forth. Correct me if I'm wrong. So but this is exactly why tonight, a smaller version, we want to take it, to the people again, at least to get the good, the bad, the ugly, as they say on the plan.
So, couple thoughts. Maybe it's already there and I just don't remember.
Hmm.
Is it one of those light up crosswalks?
No.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, it is?
we do now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also you could put a sign like, before you reach crosswalk coming up. Okay, so there's for signage. Hold on. But just a thought that's popped into my head, and I don't know if it's gonna work, but what the hey, I'll throw it out there. What about building up and over? A bridge. Dan's over there going, oh, cannot believe she said that out loud.
I'll just say, well, Robert, I think he was right. We have done a lot for safety wise, because on this image, it shows
Yeah,
kind of
yes.
the old configuration. It's really squared off now, the intersection, when we reconstructed Sandy Pond Road and the sidewalk, and we put in the flashing beacon.
Yeah.
cross.
Oh, no, it's much, much better there, but
Yeah.
if that's still a concern for people, it's just the thought that maybe for some of these areas that are really busy, maybe we should go up. He's over there, he's like,
No, it's-
"Yes, I can't believe she said that out loud."
Jesse, you had something else?
Yeah, as a resident in that area, speed has come down, but if you're driving anywhere approaching 25, which you should be, you have cars crawling right up the backside of your car.
Oh, I
all over
know.
the
Oh,
place.
my God.
And that can be intimidating as well. I know I think a signal would be unworkable, but I still would love to have the select board consider a 4-way stop sign that has worked wonderfully at Groton Harvard Road and Central Ave. And if you're a driver approaching on Sandy Pond from either side, and there's a stop sign coming up, you're going to start slowing down, putting up, 25 mile an hour. There's some people will obey it and other people won't, and that's where it gets most dangerous for kids. So that's my 2 bits worth.
Okay.
And I think at the charrette, there was a lot of resident support, people in the area for something like a 4-way stop sign.
Yep.
So I just would love that to be revisited.
All right. Anything else?
Just one last comment. There's been good ideas, and I know this will get, we have a lot of time talking about public input. But also just all of these great ideas also have a pretty high cost. You know, like moving the basketball court, which, you know, I would say, sure, that's a great idea, but then we need to know the price tag that goes along with that. So, you know, it's, we're at the process now where it's like, okay, here's just a concept. There's no wrong answers. We're talking this through, which is great, but also as we get further, we have to kind of say, okay, we're gonna move the court here and put it on this side, which is a great idea. It's gonna cost $1.1 million. Just throwing that out there, I'm probably way off, but just saying that, you know, each one of these thoughts probably will bring up the cost further and further, and that has to be taken into account. That's all.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. This story's not over. Hold on. Pauline?
Good evening, Madam Chair. I just have a very short question for Robert. I followed along this committee meeting for months. I missed the last one where I believe maybe the concept plan was finalized. And I don't want to say finalized. I want to take that word out. The concept plan you are presenting tonight was agreed to. Am I right or wrong? Agreed to by the membership. You have 14 members.
Right, so, through the chair to Pauline, that this was agreed to as a concept, but not, it was not the intent of the working group that this is like the final, but that at the end of this working group process, this is where we were at.
Sure, and that's what I wanted to clarify. And do you remember the vote on that, I presume, motion to bring this forward tonight?
Yeah, what I can do, Pauline, let me check. I don't know offhand what the exact vote was, but I can get that for you.
Well, I'm going to guess that it was in favor of moving this forward to the select board.
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah.
Okay, that's really the point I wanted to make. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate your work.
Thank you. All right. Well, this was a great discussion, some great ideas, and the process continues. So thank you, everyone. Okay, so we're gonna go next up. Dan, you have a execution of contract for 2026-2028 Grove Pond AIX media replacement.
Yes. Yeah, Madam Chair, through you. So this contract is for our treatment media for the PFAS treatment at Grove Pond Water Treatment Plant. And so this time around, we bid it similar to like we do with the road paving. So it's 1 year with the option to extend it another year for twice. So total of 3 total years. And obviously we would come back to you next year if we recommend extending it. So the bids came in. Calgon Carbon Corp, which is our current media supplier, approved at the plant, bid it $235,600 per vessel changeout. So we recommend moving forward with that. And Kimberly did actually put this together, noted in here, the Army has agreed to pay for the media replacements at Grove Pond. We're working on that. Yep.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I've not, except for in the motion, should the name of the corporation be mentioned or it doesn't matter?
It should.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that the board vote to execute the contract for the 2026 to 2028 Grove Pond AIX media replacement in the amount of $235,600 per vessel project to Calgon Carbon Corporation for signature by the chair.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
What? Well, nice
Quick
meeting you,
and easy.
join us. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Robert.
Madam Chair, members of the board, good evening. In terms of the administrative update, you have in your packet the warrants that were reviewed and approved since the board last met on May 5th. And I will get right into the action items that I have that touch upon the administrative components for tonight. And of course, if there are any questions from the board, I'd be happy to answer them. The first is I wanted to just provide a brief update on the town's energy contract. And I would like to propose to the board that in the near future, I would have the facilities director come back with a more detailed update on energy and fuel. But as the board can appreciate, up until February 28th, the one saving grace on inflation and costs was the price of fuel, and energy was sort of staying low. That all changed with the situation in the Middle East starting on the 28th, as the board is aware. Though we're in the middle of finalizing the FY 27 budget, as the board knows and as was presented, that is why we increased the reserve fund amount to 175,000 to take into account unforeseen volatility on fuel and energy. Also, we increased in the DPW budget on snow and ice and on DPW fuel, modest increases to sort of address this ongoing volatility. There's no question that if the current trend continues, that the issue of energy and fuel is definitely going to be a budget driver for FY 28 and have impacts on FY 27. So I think it's important. We're continuing to monitor on a regular basis, and we will keep the board updated as we move forward. I'm going to be talking with the departments in June, relatively short, about some energy conservation and fuel conservation measures as we move forward. So the main update for tonight was the energy contract that we have for electricity. The town has a 3-year contract. This one expires on November 1st of 2026, and we lock into a rate for those 3 years. And if the rate goes down, we get a blended rate, a lower rate. That's a positive. If the rate goes up, good news is we're locked in at that number. So we're currently locked in at 12 cents per kilowatt hour until November 1st. Well, shortly or recently, Constellation Energy contacted the facilities director and I with concerns about locking in for a new lock-in amount before November 1st. So in other words, we'll be at the 12 cents until November 1st, but really recommending they could offer that we lock into a rate now as it continues to go up. So Chuck, and in consultation with Dan and with representatives from Constellation, we did lock in at 15 cents effective November 1st. So we're still at the 12 cents and locking in at 15 cents. They're anticipating, Constellation, based on the modeling, even if the situation in the Middle East was completely resolved tomorrow, that the kilowatt hour could be at, by the end of the summer, somewhere between 22 and 25 cents. In fact, it looks like May's gonna close out maybe at 17 cents. So there was a sense of urgency to lock in at the 15. Now, again, as I mentioned, if it goes down, we do get that blended rate, but the likelihood of that, based on everything that's being seen, is little to none. So we are at 12 cents until November 1st. We'll be locked in at 15 cents come November 1st. But before we get there, we'll continue to keep the board updated. Carly and I have met with the firm that oversees the municipal aggregation for the town, for the residents. And this municipal aggregation, they're looking at the same thing as being proactive to lock into a rate in July at the latest, and we'll keep you updated on that. So unfortunately, there's so much volatility, and it's not positive from a financial point of view. So just wanted to give that brief energy update. And I have Chuck is preparing a detailed presentation on energy and fuel for the board in the near future. Our natural gas contract, we're locked in until March of 2027. That's also being monitored at this time. It's not the same as the electrical situation, but that will probably change. So we'll keep you posted on that front. Chuck, we anticipate approximately that at 15 cents versus 12 cents on November 1st. That would be about potentially a $10,000 to $15,000 impact to the FY 27 budget for that balance of the year, which we are prepared at this time we could absorb. So we'll keep you updated on that. I don't know if there's any questions at this time, but that's sort of the energy snapshot for today. The next thing in your packet, as discussed at the May 5th meeting, is a proposed draft, a letter from the select board for the Main Street TIP project, as mentioned at the last meeting by the DPW director and I. The Main Street project, which was scheduled for for 2029, which we've been pushing to actually move up, is being moved back to 2030/2031 due to the situation with federal transportation funding. I will say, I'm not an expert, but if the federal gas tax gets relief, this will probably be moved to 2077, but that's just my own opinion. So there is a draft letter for consideration by the board, for your approval and signature. These are important for the MPO and the TIP to receive. It basically is advocating the importance of the project, as well as if an opportunity presents itself, which they often do, this project is ready to go. It's the highest scoring project on the TIP now, and that we remain committed to working with them to try to get this even sooner than 2029, but we'll see. I don't know if there's any questions on the draft.
Shouldn't say the town of Ayer Select Board is pleased.
I already switched it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then down to the last sentence there, TIP scoring, TEC scoring project on the TIP and will be ready to commence well before the 2029 programming date. Instead of, and now it says, and will be ready commence well before the 2029 programming date.
Where is
Second
that?
to last sentence in the first paragraph.
Okay. Yeah. Ready to commence. So with your permission, I'll make that small edit, which I missed, and then we can just use your stamps if that's okay, so we can get it out tomorrow. Yep. Does that work? Thank you.
Do we need to take a vote on that?
Would.
I make a motion that the board approve the letter to the Massachusetts Metropolitan Planning Organization as presented with the two edits.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Okay. Draft FFY?
Yeah, it stands for federal funding.
Oh, thank you. That's right.
No, I thought the
Yeah,
same thing. It was
Okay.
a typo originally, but. Yep.
Okay. Next.
Yeah, and then lastly, Madam Chair, members of the board, is just a brief Parks Department update. As we talked on May 5th, the Parks Department remains in a period of transition. After the meeting on the 5th, in consultation with the Parks Commission, I did make an interim appointment of Ms. Jerry Amenta, who's actually here tonight, as the interim Parks Director, because as we reported to the board, we are in a situation where the director resigned, the assistant director position is vacant, and obviously, though we would started that hiring process, the director should be involved in that process of the assistant. And we're in the spring, about to start summer. There was the need for a full-time presence at the parks, also at a time where we're commencing with the hiring process for the director. We're starting those interviews actually tomorrow. So Jerry came highly recommended. I think many folks may know him, a resident in town, and was previously on the Parks Commission for many years, a coach, and has sort of hit the ground running. So I asked Jerry to just come just so the board, could see him. I don't know if Jerry, just through the chair real quick, has finished week 1, I think.
Yeah, just over.
And,
And you're still breathing, man.
Yeah.
Good for you.
This is the cleanest I've ever felt.
yeah.
No, it's been great.
So I don't know, Jerry, if you just briefly for the board, or if the board has any questions, what the last week's been like.
Yeah, so the first part of it was park appearance, right? Park maintenance, field maintenance. I think it needed improvements. So that was the first priority. So I made a lot of progress, I think, over the last week. Just general, landscape maintenance and stuff. Nothing, didn't get deep into the weeds yet, but spending a lot of times on ball fields. I've outreached to Jeff Thomas, who's a good friend of mine. So he's been coming over a couple hours a day to, institutional knowledge, which was really important, really helpful, especially the first day I went in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that, even though I have experience in a lot of this and a lot of management leadership roles in my professional career, there's nothing like opening those doors and trying to figure out where everything is, and so that was great. And now I'm kind of a little more self-sufficient in doing field maintenance, field setup. Making progress one day at a time. There's still a lot to do. There's a lot of touch-ups, but I think a lot of the general maintenance in the park, in my opinion, has improved, and the parents wise. And it's good to hear the feedback from the town, which I am, I guess close to, in the sense that my kids are 4 and are in 4th grade and 6th grade, so I know a lot of the parents that are still active in the parks and coming to the games and softball games. So I'm hearing a lot of good feedback, which is good. And I think I could address one thing at Sandy Pond Beach. So we did clean that up in terms of appearance and mowing and just general maintenance. So lifeguards did you want me to address that? Yeah. Lifeguards is a concern. We kind of heard that from previous parks director. I was on the commission up until May 1st. In March, and it's not just isolated to Ayer. Yeah, it's common now throughout. And I heard it on the news actually recently. I think just kids in that age group are doing different things. But we have to solve the problem. And the steps that I'm taking immediately are, I put a blurb together to Heather in the school system. I think it's important that we push the message to the kids that we need help, instead of putting up a poster and expecting them to, address it as they walk by, talking with their friends. So that's one step. So we did that today. So it's, I've asked to have it done in the daily announcements. That should help. Groton Country Club, Groton High School, Littleton High School, I have contacts out. Orchard Hills is one where my kids went to for years in summer camp. So I have contacts there. I've emailed the director there asking, if I'm not trying to steal lifeguards. And I know they're experiencing the same thing, but maybe if they want extra shifts. That worked for us last year when we went to Groton Country Club. Our wage is competitive. It's just about getting lifeguards. We have to get it. So I think a lot of it is just effort. I just have to continuously push the message out every day, and I plan to do that. It's the only way I think we're going to have success. We just have to be louder than the next town or the next program, trying to get them to want to have interest in it. So, I mean, my message was that you want to spend the summer at the beach, join the historic Sandy Pond lifeguard team, stuff like that. I was trying to jazz it up, but returning lifeguards, Cole New, who I know, who I had reached out to him, saying, a lot of it is just, your friends, you're kind of bringing in your friends to, to do it with you. So I'm confident we'll solve the problem. I'll keep Robert and Carly you updated. Madam Chair, so I can update you, but right now we have 4. We need 11. And it's that high school range. You have to be 16. So, and I think also the last thing I'll add on that is I think they think it's hard. Like they need to go out and get certification. They have to, and a lot of them I've heard of going to golf courses. And maybe they just find that easier to, it's just easy. I can just go there. But so I'm trying to message out that it's not hard. And you just have to get a week certification. So you do have to step
Which
over.
can benefit you in your
Yes,
other
yeah.
things that you're doing, because you never know
Right,
when you're gonna be out to eat and somebody needs your help.
right. So
So that, yeah.
that's a great point. So, so that could be part of our, our messaging. So it's all about outreach and again,
It's a life skill. It's not
Yeah.
just a
Right.
skill for the
Yep.
job. It's a life skill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's priorities really, is just general maintenance, field maintenance improvement, and getting lifeguards. I would say I categorize those two as my interim goals.
I think we've forgotten that, being a lifeguard, that used to be
Yeah.
a hot
Yeah.
job for the
Yeah.
summer,
I
you
did,
know?
I loved it. I
Yeah,
kinda
but
I loved
there's
it.
so many other opportunities that,
Yeah.
kids aren't necessarily seeing that,
No,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's a shame.
yeah, it's on the news. It seemed to change, and all they said was that they're just not
I
seeing
think
it
the
as a-
pads.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, that's part of it.
because we're not as outdoors as we used to be. We
Right,
were outdoors because our parents literally kicked us out of the house.
right.
Go away, when the lights come back
Yeah.
on, I'll
Yeah.
let you back in the house.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but we'll get there. It's just constant effort, and that's that's top priority for me and the team.
And so, and part of the problem is, because you need 11 is to cover the hours so that you have, can do it 7 days a week.
Right.
That the beach is open, and I think there's some misconfusion out there after, what we had talked about it last month, and
Yes.
and there's some confusion as to what the hours are going to be. So I know that it's opening later than it usually does, and part of that's the lifeguard issue. So the season will be shorter, but it's still, the plan is to open it every day, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now it is. Yep,
Right.
contingent on lifeguards, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
and and I don't know how much. I mean, we can push that message out to the town because then eventually it is a town. Maybe the parents can tell their kids, if you want Sandy Pond open, a lot of residents do use it, right? It's still generally near residents that are using it,
Right.
So,
yeah.
but I'm gonna try all those different channels, like I mentioned. Even Lawrence Academy, there's there's students there of this age that stay there, right? So, yeah, it's just gonna be a constant effort. So I'll update you on kind of the progress on that. I'm just starting that now. The first week was really just about kind of getting my.
Well, it sounds like you've done a lot already.
Yeah, I mean, we have. Yeah.
Just a quick question, where would somebody go to get certified?
I don't have that information off the top of my head. I forget it's a part of the Board of Health. I have all the
Red
websites.
Cross.
Yeah, Red Cross, Board of Health. We
Okay.
have it all in a document. I can't think of it where exactly they go. There's different sites that they do it. They might even do it in Orchard Hills. In that pool there, they do lessons and stuff there. I think they have a certification. Certification process there.
Yeah.
There might be other satellite, but it's part of the Red Cross. Yeah.
And an idea that came up just today, I happened to see Dr. Renda. It won't help us directly this season, but he had a good idea that moving forward in the fall or the winter, that if we offer the Red Cross certification up at the high school, he'd be willing to be supportive to that. We might be able to create a pipeline up there as well. But we do reimburse, if you get certified and you join us, the town is always reimbursed for the certification, and we have competitive wages. Keep at it. I'm glad you brought that clarification up, Madam Chair, because it did come out afterwards that we needed 11 lifeguards at the beach at one time. It's 11 for the current staffing of noon to 6.
Right, because they
Yeah.
can't, they can't work 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
They could, but it helps like labor, so
Yeah.
it's probably not a good idea, so. I think you've got some great, definitely some positive energy out of you. This is awesome. And I do think that, we have to utilize social media even better than what we've been utilizing it, as far as, even come up with like, example, every Monday at 10 o'clock, you're gonna post, this is what we need, and then keep those going so that we don't run into this problem next year too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, better succession plan for sure. I'm not sure what it was previous. Well, I do know. I mean, it was just word of mouth and kids,
Right,
younger brother and sisters, but I think that is no longer working. Right, so we just gotta.
right, the
Yeah.
world's changed, yeah, we gotta adapt to it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think that, and there's a lot of things that we could change for a lot of our town processes, but this is great, thank you for the positive energy.
Yeah,
Tell Jeff we miss him and to thank you for helping out.
yeah, I will.
Okay,
I will. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
all right,
All
come
right.
again.
Jerry.
Will.
Thank you, Jerry. And just to conclude on the Parks point, Madam Chair, just in terms of process, so the interview process with the screening committee will start tomorrow. There are 2 Parks Commissioners on that screening process. The screening committee will make a recommendation or recommendations, 1 or 2 candidates to the Parks Commission, which will then interview the candidate or candidates. And then the Parks Commission will make a recommendation to me, which I'll bring to the select board for ratification. So we will keep you updated on that process.
We're looking for that energy that he brought. Yeah.
All right.
All right, sounds great.
And that concludes my report, Madam Chair, unless there's any questions from the board. Nope. Thank you.
All right, I know nobody put anything, but do we have any new business select board member questions?
No.
Okay. All right, next up is approval of the meeting minutes from May 5th. I didn't see any issues. Did anybody else see anything?
I didn't see anything.
Okay,
Make a motion that the board approve the meeting minutes from May 5th, 2026 as presented.
Seconded.
all those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Okay. And now we come to that annual event. We're going to reorganize this board. So I'm gonna throw out a recommendation that I think we should let Chris be chair.
I was gonna make a motion. That's.
Do you want
I
it?
accept.
Okay. All right.
No,
so-
no, Chris is the chair, you as the vice chair, and I'll stay clerk. That's my recommendation.
Okay, any discussion?
I'm fine with that.
He heard chair, that he didn't hear
Yeah,
anything
no,
else.
Yeah.
All right, so, so the motion is to make Selectman Tavares chair, me vice chair, and you clerk, remain clerk.
Okay, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The chair says aye,
Sounds good.
and with that,
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Good night, everyone.